Welcome to our video, 7 big tips on how to self-publish a book on Amazon. In this video, we'll share 7 things that we think are most important for you to know about publishing on Amazon, and in a moment, we'll share a secret that many people don't seem to know about. Your book or ebook and cover must be finished, edited, and ready to go. Amazon has KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and that's how you want to publish your ebook through them. You can do a similar thing with your print book if you're doing that as well, but either way, whether you're doing ebook or both, or just paperback, which is not recommended, but if you want to do it that way, cool, go ahead, and, you do you. But they have specific formatting that's required. The ebook requires less formatting than with the paper book. The paper book requires way more stuff to make it presentable as a book. The ebook gets shifted around by the reader, the size of the text and all those things, so there's a lot less involved in that, but there still needs to be certain formatting done. And with the cover, it has to be the right shape and size and pixel amount and all of those different things before you can even get the go-ahead. You'll upload it to them, and if it gets flagged, they'll tell you what's wrong and you can go and fix it. But you do have to have those things ready and mostly done so that you can send it in and hopefully they'll give you a go-ahead.
Exactly. So you need to decide what price you want to set for your book or ebook. Okay, so you want to base your pricing on the market that you're in, plus, how much of a royalty do you want to receive? So the more you price the book at, the more money you're going to make. But at some point, you can price yourself out of the market and no one will buy your book because it's too expensive. So you kind of have to figure all that out, right? But the first place to start is to go to your genre and see what other people are charging in there.
Exactly.
Many people like to launch an ebook at 99 cents. It's a great way to get a lot of movement, a lot of sales really quickly. However, something you need to know about that 99-cent sale on an ebook, if your ebook has a bunch of pictures in it, they won't let you do it for 99 cents. And that's because the file itself is too big. So there's a certain number of, megabytes, whatever that number is. I'm sure they have it in a document somewhere. But once your book exceeds a certain size, you cannot do a 99-cent sale. In fact, my most recent book that I published, the least they would let us have that set at is $2.99, because we had a graphic at the end of every single chapter summarizing, basically a bullet point list that summarized the whole chapter and gave them some things to do, some exercises to do. And because of formatting, I wrestled with it, and finally I was just like, screw it, I'm going to make it an image, because I couldn't get the document itself to set it up the way I wanted it to be. So I just made images for each one, but then that made the file really large. So you just have to keep that in mind if you're going to have a lot of photos. Clearly, if you're doing children's books and things, some of them are like
full color
graphics.
Page,
the image covers the whole page. Then you really have to be concerned. However, they tend to be really short books, so maybe not. You won't know until you try it. But anyway, you have to know that going in, because it's one of the questions they ask you. So we're preparing you for uploading a file to fill out all the information that you need to put it on Kindle Direct Publishing, getting it into Amazon. These are the most important things you have to have in place before you ever get started.
Yes. 3, you have to decide white or cream paper. If you're doing a paper book, those are 2 options that they give you right before the second screen, pretty much, as soon as you're going through to upload. White paper is a bit thinner than cream paper, and for nonfiction, it's usually what happens. Fiction is usually cream paper, though a lot of nonfiction people also prefer cream. We find that it's way easier to read cream paper, so you might throw that into your considerations. But on the other hand, if you're doing nonfiction where the reader needs to do a lot of highlighting, it's easier to see the highlights on white paper.
Absolutely. But here's something, you might wonder, why do you need to know this up front? You need to know this right away. And the reason is, if you decide which way you decide to go will impact how wide your spine is going to be. Okay, so with the same number of pages with cream paper, that spine's going to be a little wider. And you have to be able to tell your graphic designer that, who's doing your cover. So
because the spine also has graphics on it, and so if you were planning for it to be thinner, but it's actually thicker, you're going to have some kind of spacing issue, or you're going to have to
it's going to wrap around. It's going to look really crappy. And so this is a decision you got to make pretty early on.
Yes.
Okay. So what name will you use? Are you going to use a real name or a pseudonym? So this is super important, even if you plan on using your own name, okay? And especially if you're writing more than one book. Some people don't want to use their real name, and years and years and years ago, women didn't write certain kinds of books, right?
True, yeah.
It wasn't acceptable for women to write, I don't know, a murder mystery, or I don't even know.
There were certain things, and nowadays it's less about that and more about, are you writing, like if you're writing erotica and you don't want your family and friends to know about that, or your colleagues at work, you probably don't want to use your real name. You might not want to use your face. You might find somebody else who you can, legally, whose image you can use as yourself.
Right.
Or for whatever other reason you might not want to present yourself about, what you're writing, or you're a very private person and you don't want that stuff out there. You don't want to interact with people who've read your stuff in real life. There's various reasons why you might not want to use your real information.
And the other thing too is sometimes maybe you write in two different genres.
Yes.
And you might want your name for one genre and a whole other name for a different genre, because you don't want to confuse readers who are into, say, fantasy when you're writing your mystery novels, right?
Yes.
Because most of the time people don't cross over those genres anyway. They want to just read this sort of thing, or they just want to read this sort of thing.
Yeah, very, very few readers follow you cross-genre. And back in the good old days of exclusive traditional publishing, if you wrote in multiple genres, your publisher would make you use a different name in that different genre. Unless you were a really big wig and you could just veto that decision, they would give you a different name for your other genre.
Right. And the thing with multiple books is that, you have to decide right away, are you going to use your middle name or not use your middle name? Or include, like I do, I go by Takara, but that's not really my given name, right? So with my writing, I do Debbie Takara Sheeler, okay? Somehow in one of the books that I uploaded on Amazon, it just got Takara Sheeler. And so when you have an author page and they show all of the books that you've written, they weren't showing the ones that had Debbie Takara Sheeler on the cover. They were only showing the ones that had Takara Sheeler. And it was just a giant mess. And I don't even, I thought I was very careful in doing it the right way. So you want to do it, like really pick what name you're going to use and put it somewhere you'll remember, right? And stick with it, because you want, when you have an author page on Amazon, like right under the book title, you'll see a person's name. And often you can highlight that and then go to their author page and you can read a bio. You might see videos. There's all kinds of things you can do with an author page, right? But you want every single book that you've published to be listed there. And so having the right name will impact that.
Again, assuming you want that.
Right. Right.
If you want it to be separate, definitely use a different name, because it will be associated if you use the same name.
Exactly.
So for the same reason,
Yeah. So again, it's just a decision you need to make right up front.
Yes.
All right. Are you doing KDP Select? Okay, so anyone can publish on Amazon Kindle, right? They can, or even print books through what's called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. But they have a special service that you just literally check a box and fill out some information and you can participate in. It's called KDP Select. And KDP Select is something that you at least the rules used to be. I haven't checked the minutest details to see if they've changed anything, but typically, or what it was before, is you're locked in for 90 days. If you're going to participate in KDP Select, it's a 90-day selection, okay? But within that 90 days, you're allowed to put your book for absolutely free for 5 of those days, okay? Now, for marketing reasons, sometimes that's a really good idea. Some people choose not to do it. Some people choose to do it. It's a whole discussion we're not going to cover in this video.
But the thing about it, of course, there's a catch.
Yeah.
When you're in KDP Select for those 90 days or however long it is now, that ebook is exclusively on Amazon.
Right.
You cannot sell it anywhere else.
Right.
And if it is already somewhere else, when you select it, they will ban you from KDP Select.
Exactly. So you can't even offer it like as a download on your own website. Like, it cannot be anywhere. And I've heard some nightmares from people that, you know, they were trying to get some momentum going with their books. And so they decided, oh, I'll just put it on KDP Select, not remembering that they had an ebook on another platform somewhere. And it caused, I think they were banned for like a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really big deal. Okay. So
you need to be careful.
If you're a new author, this is your first book.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to worry about all this,
That's fine.
right?
You know exactly where it is.
Right.
But if it's a book that's been out for a while and you're going back to it, you'd have to pull it from everywhere that it's in and then select it into KDP Select.
Exactly. So it's an important thing to consider in the beginning. What a lot of people do with KDP Select is, you know, some people are like, why would on earth? And like I said, we're not going to go way into this subject. Why would I, you know, do something for free? But here's an idea for people that write a series. Sometimes what they do is periodically they make their first book in the series free. And once a person's read it, they're like hungry to go buy the next one, right? So it is their marketing machine is to make this 99 cents most of the time and free the rest, you know, the days you can, and really get the first one moving a lot so the people that love the first one will then buy the rest of the series. And they just do that forever. So they never make that first book available on other platforms. They only make it available on Amazon. But again, this is a huge discussion. We're not going to get into all that.
There's a lot of decisions to make there.
But the other thing you can do with KDP Select is they have a thing on Amazon called Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
And Kindle Unlimited means that a person who pays however much they pay per month to participate actually gets to, it's like borrowing books. They get to borrow ebooks and read. I don't know how many they get to read per month or whatever, but if your book is part of Kindle's Unlimited.
If your book is if you've selected your book into KDP Select, people with Kindle Unlimited can borrow your book for free and you get paid per page they read.
Yes, you get paid by pages. So if you have a great book, they'll read all of it, most of it, something like that, and you get paid per page. You know, and it's a giant pot per month that comes out of all those subscriptions for Kindle Unlimited, and you get a piece of that pie, right? So there's a lot of math involved, and I've not actually done that part, so it's okay. We don't really have to.
Yeah, we don't know a whole lot about how it works, but you can do that, and you can make money from people who didn't spend money on you.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily have to buy your book; they could borrow it, and you still earn money from it. So from that perspective, it's a really good idea. And again, letting them try it through that, so they'll buy the second one in the series.
Yeah, so
that's
yet another reason why some people do that.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's just a decision you need to make up front.
You need a great book description. Most authors cannot write a very good book description because you need to know exactly what is going to hook them. And that takes studying how to write book descriptions. There are people that, their job is to write book descriptions. And that's because it falls under what's called copywriting, which is not the normal thought of copywriting, which is like the
trademark.
The trademark of your thing. This is a completely different type of copywriting, which is persuasive sales writing.
Yes.
And it's specifically designed with different psychological techniques and all these things to have different hooks to pull you in to like, oh, I'm interested, but you didn't, like, you gave me enough information that I'm interested in what's happening, but you didn't give me too much so that I know what the whole story's about. There's all these different technicalities in it, so you need to either really spend some time to figure out how to write a good book description, or you need to pay somebody that has good accolades and has done good ones in the past to do one for you.
Right. And the thing about it is, the reason we say that authors are not very good at it, a lot of authors have an incredibly difficult time taking their entire book and putting it down into a couple sentences, right?
Yeah, like,
that is not giving away the whole story.
Yeah, like a couple paragraphs at most.
Yeah, like it's tricky business, and basically it's an ad. Your book description on the back cover and on Amazon or any other platform, or even when you're passing them out, on a bookmark or anything, it's an ad. And so it involves marketing and advertising and the psychology of all that.
Yep. And so unless the person who's picking it up and potentially going to read it had a very solid recommendation from someone they know, or they're just hooked on your stuff, so, oh, here's the next book, I'm just going to buy it and read it anyway, that description is the thing that's going to get them, among other things, that is very important to get them to say, yes, I'm actually going to invest the time to even open the first page and try to read this book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they really matter. And absolutely you can take a stab at it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But you have to have it. You have to have it ready to go. You have to input it as you're uploading your book.
Yet another thing that has to be ready before you try to do this.
Absolutely. And then...
Number 7, know your categories and keywords. There's a whole process to this that we're going to go into in later videos, but under Amazon and anywhere else you might want to sell your project, there are different categories and genres and subcategories and all these different things that your book should be under. A lot of new authors don't want to write in a genre because they want to follow their artistic vision. No one's going to buy your book if you did that.
Right.
That's yet another discussion that we can get into later that other people have gone into great depth on. But if you have not written your book into the standards of a specific genre or subgenre, people are not going to be interested enough to pay money to buy your book. And so you need to either have written your book into that, or you find the things that most match, and then you select those categories when you're uploading so that people who are interested in those things will find your book. Because even if you wrote a great thing that doesn't really fit, nobody's going to find it because they're looking in specific genres to get the thing they're going to read next.
So when we talk about genre, we talk about category, we talk about niche. What we're talking about is murder mystery, or children's book.
Yes.
Or what's some more?
Epic fantasy. I don't know if epic is
is an actual category.
But there's fantasy, there's like dark fantasy as a subcategory, there's different types of nonfiction as well, there's self-help, there's probably
memoirs, there's cookbooks, there's...
Exactly.
Right, and so that's what we're talking about when we say categories. And keywords are like women's studies, or...
the words used when describing those genres, when the things that people use to look for when they're going into that genre.
Right. So you have a few of those that you need to select before you try to upload to Amazon. So then, as promised, the secret that most people don't know, you can ask Amazon for help. Most people don't realize this, or they don't utilize it enough if they do, right? If you have figured out all those things that we mentioned earlier, and you have uploaded a file, and you keep getting them messages back from them saying you need to change something, you can literally contact Amazon and say, can you help me figure out what is wrong here? Or if you're not sure what to do about categories, or you're not sure what to do about any of this, you can contact them.
Or if there's an error later that happens and you can't figure out what's happening after you've already uploaded, you can contact them. Inside KDP, there's a contact forum. You got to dig around a little to find it, but it's very much there, and you can directly contact them. They can talk to you via email or phone.
Right.
And you can have someone who knows what they're doing
walk you through.
Exactly.
Walk you through. Now, they're not going to hand out their phone number, okay? Yeah. You have to fill out a little form, and you get to choose if they will call you right back or if it's an email message, right? Mm-hmm. But you can literally say, call me, and they usually call within like 10 minutes. You don't really usually have to wait very long. At least that's not been my experience, but you just ask them the questions. They're there to help you, because the more authors they have who are successful on their platform, the more money they make. Mm-hmm. So it's in their best interest that you be successful too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And if you want to watch the next video in the series, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you like push notifications, go ahead and hit the bell icon as well. In the next video, we'll talk about what you need to know about Kindle Direct Publishing, and we'll go into a bit more detail about some of the stuff we talked about today.
All right. Until next time.